Man ignored the saber-toothed tiger, choosing the weakest species instead. Everyone scoffed at him, but only he knows soon they will be the rulers of the world. Upon waking up, Yang Chen found himself an observer in Earth Online. The world was just like Earth. However, the origins of humanity are concealed. Earth Online is a game of destiny played between nations. Each country sends one observer of civilizations who must choose one species to observe. The survival of the species was the deciding factor. The victorious race would be blessed, while the defeated would face catastrophe. Yang Chen recalled the distant past when giant reptiles ruled the world. They had reigned for 170 million years, but then a massive asteroid struck Earth. The dinosaurs went extinct, and the era of those giants officially came to an end. This new version picks up where the previous one left off. The giants of the land have vanished, and the world lies in ruins. The survivors are seemingly frail, rodent-like mammals. Continental plates have begun to shift, and the once unified landmass is slowly breaking apart. The environment has changed drastically, forcing all living creatures to evolve, some growing larger while others shrink, in order to adapt. The transformation, which normally spans tens of millions of years, unfolded in mere minutes. Finally, a new era began. Yang Chen gazed at the screen. He knew that this was the era where human history would begin. Selectable species were introduced one by one. The first creature captured everyone's attention: the saber-toothed tiger. It stood over a meter tall at the shoulder and measured more than 3 meters in length, featuring long fangs that resembled curved swords. On the screen, the predator is seen bringing down prey far larger than itself. Speed, power, hunting technique, everything is nearly flawless. It is no wonder many were immediately convinced the saber-toothed tiger would rule the new era, yet other formidable species were also emerging. There was the ancient forest-dwelling bear, which relied on immense strength to survive. Then came the giant hunting dog, a predator weighing nearly 400 kilograms that hunted large mammals in packs. In the rivers and swamps lived Purosaurus, an ancient crocodilian over 11 meters long with a terrifying bite force. The skies were ruled by the terror bird, a giant predator with a wingspan of up to 7 meters. Meanwhile, the oceans remained a realm of monsters. The appearance of the megalodon left everyone awestruck. This ancient shark, stretching over 20 meters and weighing tens of tons, possessed jaws capable of crushing anything. The scene shifts to a vast grassland with scattered clumps of trees standing along its edges. A troop of apes lives in the trees. They can stand upright briefly, but more often they swing between trees using their arms. They feed on fruit. They are Ardipithecus, the ancient apes. Time raced forward to 4.4 million years BC, and finally, the flow of time came to a halt. This marked the starting point of the new version. The preview for the new version had concluded. The era of giants had passed, and a new rivalry was about to begin. The evolution of life would not be halted by anyone's will. Observers must select their subject of observation within 30 minutes. Yang Chen saw nothing but a flash of white light before everything vanished. One moment, he was standing in a vast grassland. The next, the time had come to choose a species, a truly pivotal step. He found himself in a peculiar state, akin to a creator. With a mere thought, he could summon the data for any living species in this world. The objective was clear. His gaze was fixed on the Ardipithecus card. No other species in the world possessed as much evolutionary potential as this ancient ape. He began examining the Ardipithecus data. Strength, 3 stars; running speed, 2 stars; reflexes, 3 stars; durability, 4 stars; intelligence, 5 stars; energy consumption, 6 stars. Almost all of Ardipithecus's stats were low, only its intelligence was slightly higher. However, its energy consumption is staggering, a 6-star rating, meaning it requires vastly more energy just to survive. In the wild, this translates to a lower chance of survival compared to other animals. Even among creatures far larger than Ardipithecus, none are quite so wasteful with energy. In this world, aside from Yang Chen, no one would even spare this species a glance. In the research lab, Professor Chin watched Yang Chen's broadcast, his brow constantly furrowed. Looking at the Ardipithecus data, Chin truly saw nothing remarkable. However, Yang Chen did not dwell on it for long, then quickly moving on to examine data from other species. A shift that brought Chin a measure of relief. Yang Chen appeared unhurried as he reviewed the data of over a dozen other species, as he was indeed in the process of making comparisons. His objective was clear. He immediately chose to teleport to the Ardipithecus habitat. Representatives from several nations were stationed nearby, and Yang Chen's arrival drew their attention. One of them assumed Yang Chen would target the saber-toothed tiger, but they were mistaken. Instead, Yang Chen told them to fight over that species while he headed in a different direction. Before long, Yang Chen arrived beneath a massive tree. Yang Chen, the Dragon Nation's civilization observer, had confirmed his observation target. Ardipithecus had been selected. In the Earth Online Special Research Center, Chin's teacup clattered to the floor. Everyone exchanged glances, stunned by Yang Chen's choice. The live stream chat was flooded with question marks from thousands of Dragon Nation users, while other nations roared with laughter. Some called it a fatal error, while others overcome with emotion. Evan hurled abuse during Yang Chen's private broadcast, yet Yang Chen remained unaware of this. With the official launch of the new version of Earth Online, observers began their record-keeping. The duty of a civilization observer was to observe and document while also utilizing 3 opportunities for intervention, should the need arise. Evolution is a process that unfolds over vast timescales spanning millions of years making. Consequently, repetitive phases are skipped and the process is accelerated. In the special broadcast room dedicated to Yang Chen, thousands of viewers from the Dragon Nation were gripped by near despair. All eyes were fixed on a single ape, the one Yang Chen had just selected. It stood on a branch gazing at another stretch of forest 100 meters away. Earlier that morning, an old ape had fallen from a tree, starved to death, and within minutes was dragged away by a saber-toothed tiger that had emerged from the undergrowth. The young ape did not grasp that touching the ground meant death, yet its survival instinct was already forcing its mind to think. His gaze slowly shifted to the hard ground beneath the tree. Every cell in his body seemed to scream a warning of danger. He retreated, crouching onto a thicker, higher branch behind him, as if that might soothe his unease. While the commentary feed filled with increasingly desperate remarks, Yang Chen remained intently focused on the screen before him. He realized that a historic moment might be about to unfold. Hunger continued to torment the little ape's resolve, a sensation more agonizing than death itself. Unable to think clearly, it was torn between 2 warring feelings: hunger and fear. Trees had once provided a habitat for Ardipithecus. For millions of years, they had swung and leapt from branch to branch using their hands. But times had changed. The trees could no longer protect them. To survive, the only option was to let go. In the end, hunger overcame fear. He grasped a branch with both hands, let his body hang beneath it, and then let go. This peculiar action drew the attention of the other apes nearby. He leapt from the tree to the ground, his palm-like feet landing on the hard earth. Fear washed over him once more. The monkey glanced anxiously around, as if danger might strike the very next instant, and without a moment to think, his survival instinct drove him into motion. His feet planted firmly on the ground as he began to run toward the woods. Yet he felt the piercing weight of a gaze fixed upon him from somewhere nearby. He released the support of his hands, slowly straightened his hunched frame, and drove his thin legs forward with all his might. His strides grew longer and faster. Before long, he spotted fruit hanging from a tree on the opposite side. He then took a great leap toward a new world on the far side of the western forest. Curious monkeys bounded to the edge of the woods. They had just witnessed the entire scene, but were not yet able to weigh the pros and cons. They remained hesitant, yet the little monkey's actions seemed to pave the way for a new kind of behavior. To survive, the apes began leaping down one by one. Many of them sprinted into the distance, a flurry of movement that inevitably drew the attention of a predator. A saber-toothed tiger crept closer, then pounced with lightning speed upon an ape running in the lead. The ape was helpless against the massive beast. Its small body was instantly pinned to the ground. Though it struggled with all its might, it was all in vain. Other monkeys fled in terror. With no way to retreat, they could only hasten their escape toward the distant forest. Such is the nature of the wild, truly merciless. Survival demands the sacrifice of everything, even life itself. In the Palu State broadcast room, a flood of wild commentary poured in. Viewers felt fortunate to have chosen the saber-toothed tiger. The troop of monkeys, capable only of hiding in the trees, possessed absolutely no means of fighting back. Yang Chen could clearly see the asterisk Ardipithecus beginning to stand upright, slowly transitioning from all fours to an erect posture. This was a crucial step. With their hands no longer tasked with locomotion, they could evolve to become increasingly dexterous. This foundation enabled them to craft and use tools, and eventually, even to kindle fire. High up in the trees, the small ape that had taken that first step sat at ease, its belly full. The overwhelming exhaustion seemed to subside only when sitting like this, so he sat motionless, doing nothing. Aimlessly, his eyes blinked blankly, his thin feathers trembling in the breeze. For some reason, he suddenly looked up. Through the gaps in the foliage, his vacant gaze fixed on the sky. His black pupils reflected the stars. He seemed stunned. No one knew what was on his mind. It appeared that Yang Chen was deliberately observing this ape. In the dedicated Earth Online research facility, researchers watched the screen. The camera was fixed on the face of a small ape gazing up at the sky. This curiosity arose spontaneously from their emotional awareness, surfacing like an instinct, passed down from generation to generation. Millions of years later, that enduring question was finally answered. For Yang Chen, it was a historic moment. The notebook in his hands was filled with his sense of wonder. No one understood the footage began to speed up again. From the moment they first set foot on the ground and discovered a new food source that enabled their group to survive, this habit was passed down through generations. When the forest's fruit was once again depleted, Ardipithecus faced a new choice. Despite the risks and the fact that the entire Ardipithecus population was constantly hunted by various apex predators throughout their journey, they tenaciously survived. Key was moving without relying on their hands for support. Walking upright required only a quarter of the energy needed for quadrupedal locomotion. This meant their energy consumption dropped from a 6-star level to 5 stars. Still high, certainly, but a vast improvement over the past. Ardipithecus might have been physically outmatched by the predators of the time, yet they managed to survive and even begin to multiply. The screen remained fixed on a female Ardipithecus. Her belly swelled, a new life was growing within. For the entire species, this marked both a new beginning and a hope for survival. Amidst the gaze of all, a new Ardipithecus was born. Yet, it was at this very moment that the weakness of upright walking became apparent. The viewers from the Dragon Nation, who had just begun to feel hopeful, now furrowed their brows. Even Professor Chin recognized this fatal flaw. Consequence of walking upright is that their pelvises narrowed. A narrow pelvis makes it impossible for them to give birth as easily as other mammals. Most four-legged creatures in the wild experience almost no difficulty during childbirth, but the ape mother on screen faces a completely different situation. Every second of the process is fraught with mortal danger. The slightest mistake by the mother could cost both her and her fetus their lives. Difficulty level of this birth was truly hellish. In an era of ancient predators, what species could possibly survive with such immense risk? Even the slightest movement was a struggle. The mother, too, was utterly exhausted from the birthing process. The Earth Online research team fell silent. They hoped this error would be rectified immediately. In neighboring regions, other species were also reproducing, yet the situation was vastly different. Their offspring could run the moment they were born, at least stand a chance of survival. Other observers opted for species with great speed or immense strength. Only the Dragon Nation chose Ardipithecus, a choice clearly doomed to fail from the start, arguably the worst possible pick in this scenario. Yang Chen remained oblivious to the mockery from the outside. As a civilization observer, he possessed a private, inviolable space, a safeguard ensuring that everything proceeded according to plan. The progenitor ape's body was now far too frail. Giving birth had drained her of all her strength and nutrients. Not a single drop of milk remained to be produced. The infant ape had been born underdeveloped. Without nourishment, it would struggle to survive even a single day. Yet, the mother could no longer move. She sat upon the ground, and for the first time, her eyes revealed a strange emotion. Although other apes drew near, they did not grasp her intent. The mother ape's gaze shifted from one Ardipithecus to another, finally settling on a large male. He was the infant's father. In the wild, caring for offspring is usually the female's sole responsibility. Presumably, the same held true for Ardipithecus. Yet, this large male seemed to realize something. He moved quickly to dig into the dense undergrowth, retrieving 2 coconuts he had stashed away earlier. Carrying the coconuts, he approached the mother. She watched his draw near, then he handed the 2 coconuts to her, vocalizing as if trying to communicate something. Surprisingly, the large male did not resist having his food taken. He simply stared, occasionally tilting his head. His enlarged brain appeared to grant him a higher level of intelligence, making him realize that this little one shared a deep bond with him. Many might even consider this unremarkable, something hardly worth a second thought. Yet Yang Chen was incredibly excited. To the entire Ardipithecus species, this seemingly trivial action represented a monumental leap, akin to the first ape daring enough to descend from the trees and run across the ground. As time went on, having free hands allowed Ardipithecus to transport food from one location to another. This was a tremendous advantage compared to most other creatures. Walking on all fours meant that only the mouth could carry items, which limited efficiency and even hindered movement. Consequently, after a hunt, predators of that era would typically only bite their prey and move a short distance away to find a safe spot to eat, as they could not carry their food very far. Upright walking perfectly resolved this limitation. While Ardipithecus offspring had a long developmental period, the emergence of the family concept dramatically boosted their survival rates. Increased survival meant the population could expand. Once the family concept took hold, the foundation of civilization was laid. Through the family, Ardipithecus learned to cooperate, and it was from the friction of this interaction that civilization, an inevitable necessity, would be born. The spread of the family concept was akin to sowing the seeds of mutual aid. In the heart of every Ardipithecus, they no longer foraged alone, beginning instead to move in groups of 2 or 3. As their numbers grew, so did their vigilance regarding their surroundings. This shift was significant enough that even the neighboring Palu Kingdom began to notice something unusual. The Palu Kingdom observed the land's apex predator, the saber-toothed tiger, whose favorite prey was the Ardipithecus. Yet over time, they realized that hunting Ardipithecus was becoming increasingly difficult for no apparent reason. Previously, a successful hunt occurred every few days. Whenever an Ardipithecus came within the saber-toothed tiger's line of sight, a kill was guaranteed. But now, the Ardipithecus seemed to have grown smarter. They would detect the threat from afar and immediately flee. Seeing the saber-toothed tiger fail its hunt yet again, the spectators from the Hammer Nation grew restless. They could not accept that a powerful saber-toothed tiger had failed to hunt down those weak apes. Inside the Earth Online virtual space, civilization observer Cha Tihayan instinctively turned his gaze toward Yang Chen's seat, his brow furrowed. He was certain Yang Chen must have used up his one chance to intervene. With such weak mental faculties, it was impossible for the Ardipithecus to escape the saber-toothed tiger's lethal attack. Cha Ti-hyun decided to use his single intervention opportunity and simultaneously requested assistance from an external team. Instantly, data regarding the saber-toothed tiger's physiology and behavioral habits appeared. The clear plan, the state of Palu began to intervene. Cha Ti-hyun made changes to the species' living habits, targeting the Ardipithecus' current habitat. All the saber-toothed tigers had a new instinct: their current habitat was no longer comfortable. They needed to find a more suitable place. So, all the saber-toothed tigers on the continent simultaneously left their respective territories, migrating in the same direction, as if it were an ideal paradise, attracting all the saber-toothed tigers. They were already the strongest predators on the continent. The state of Palu's intervention was very effective. Soon, the number of saber-toothed tigers in the areas where Ardipithecus lived increased dramatically. Under this siege, Ardipithecus seemed to have returned to the bottom of the food chain. Every time they went out to forage, they were likely to encounter a saber-toothed tiger. And the chances of making it back alive were slim. In the Dragon Nation's research facility, Professor Chin was growing anxious, while within the virtual space of Earth Online, Yang Chen had indeed noticed the strange surge in the population of saber-toothed tigers. Clearly, someone was deliberately targeting them. To Yang Chen, this move was sheer folly. Saber-toothed tigers were already apex predators, yet that apparently wasn't enough. Forcing so many of them to congregate in a single region, setting aside the potential extinction of the Ardipithecus asterisk, was an act akin to courting death. While concentrating so many apex predators in one place certainly turned the area into an incredibly dangerous zone, one had to consider the ecological fallout. Prey would inevitably dwindle, eventually making it difficult for the saber-toothed tigers themselves to survive. This tactic was truly self-defeating, yet the move made by the Palu state gave Yang Chen an idea. It was time to provide a little push. Yang Chen planned to unlock the ability to throw objects for the asterisk Ardipithecus asterisk. Under normal evolutionary progression, it would take hundreds of thousands of years for this ability to appear, by which time this version of the simulation might have already ended. Therefore, Yang Chen wanted to accelerate their evolution. With this in mind, he called up the data on 10 groups of asterisk Ardipithecus asterisk, including their physiological structures and living habits, and pressed the intervention button. As the options appeared on his virtual screen, he selected intervention. In the Dragon State's special research facility, everyone watched Yang Chen's lips intently on the screen. The tension eased, and Professor Chin breathed a sigh of relief. Orders were immediately issued to assist Yang Chen with a comprehensive data analysis. As the research team busily worked, Yang Chen pulled up detailed data on their physiology, focusing specifically on the shoulder area. The Ardipithecus possessed short shoulders that restricted joint range of motion. Yang Chen reinforced the surrounding tendons and ligaments to enhance their elasticity. This modification transformed the Ardipithecus into a unique long-range attacker, effectively compressing hundreds of thousands of years of evolution into mere minutes. The screen was fixed on a female ape cradling her offspring. She struggled to exert enough force using only one hand, and the object she was biting into refused to open. Suddenly, she spotted a rock on the ground. She set the fruit down, hesitantly picked up the stone, raised her arm high, and brought it crashing down with great force. Accompanied by a cracking sound, the fruit's hard shell shattered easily. The mother ape's patience paid off. She let out an excited hoot and eagerly stuffed the delicious fruit into her mouth. Her movements were subtle, yet they did not escape the notice of some of her companions. An Ardipithecus on the opposite side, who had been struggling for ages to make even a small crack in their own fruit, watched as the shell broke open before the mother ape. Several apes made a clamor, pointing at the stone lying near her feet that she had just used. Understanding the cue, the mother ape picked up the stone, preparing to hurl it across the way as usual. But this time was different. She opened her shoulder much wider and threw the stone with all her might at the Ardipithecus opposite her, striking the creature squarely on the head. She had used 80% of her strength, for throwing objects typically requires great power, but the result was extraordinary. A single throw left the Ardipithecus sitting across from her sprawled out, unconscious. The commotion immediately drew the attention of the other Ardipithecus. The mother ape was also startled, seemingly unable to comprehend what had just occurred. The Ardipithecus, struck by the projectile, rolled on the ground, clutching its head. It took nearly half an hour to recover. Its gaze remained fixed on the object that had injured it. It picked the object up, as if baffled by how such a small thing could inflict such pain. After clutching the stone tightly for a long moment, it turned and hurled it at another, powerfully built Ardipithecus. A scream of pain rang out instantly as the sturdy Ardipithecus collapsed. The ape that had thrown the stone seemed to have discovered a new world. Meanwhile, 3 saber-toothed tigers had infiltrated the forest and were slowly approaching the cave from which the noise emanated. The commotion inside the dark cave began to subside, as if the apes realized they shouldn't make too much noise at night, but it was already too late. The predators had arrived at the cave entrance. Massive bodies of the three apex predators completely blocked the opening, forcing dozens of apes to huddle together in the deepest corner of the cave. Even pressing their backs against the stone wall could not quell their anxiety. The ape that had first discovered how to throw a stone now gripped a fist-sized rock tightly, though terrified. Its grasp on the stone only strengthened. Just then, it saw the three saber-toothed tigers break into a full sprint, and the ape hurled the stone with all its might toward them. Professor Chin smiled as he gazed at the screen. The entire room fell silent, for everyone had realized a profound truth. The most terrifying species is not the one with the sharpest claws, nor the one with the largest body, but the species capable of creating its own weapons, and that species was being born right before their eyes.